Hi, I'm Michael Mackey, and I'm joined with Jeff Reedy of Scale Computing. Just to start out, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got here, education and such?
Yep. Well, I am 35 years old. Scale is my fifth or sixth high-tech startup, depending on how you count. And I'm a 1996 graduate of Rose-Hulman with a degree in computer science. I've been starting companies ever since. So that's what brings me here today. So Scale Computing is a company that builds enterprise data systems. So we've actually invented a technology we called ICS, or Intelligent Clustered Storage. Obviously it's fairly technical, but the basic concept is that you take our storage devices and you can stack them together literally thousands of times. So you can start with as little as 3 terabytes of storage, and when that fills up, you add another one in, go to 4, 5, 6, 10, 20, etc., and never have to migrate your data to a new system. So if you dig in, and a lot of people think that's how systems work already, but they don't. And if you go and look at a data center, you'll see that normally when a company outgrows their existing data system, it requires that they go buy something new, much more expensive, big, take the system down. You'll get an email from the IT administrator that says the system will be offline for the next 6 hours, and that's when they're trying to migrate this data. So we eliminate all those problems, sort of just buy as you need it. That's the big push.
Okay, there's been a lot of talk, we've looked up about Scale and what you all are doing here. What makes Scale special? Why is there such a buzz around the company and what you're doing?
Yeah, I think that it's a number of different things. I like to think it's a number of different things anyway, but the one of the big keys is that we are offering a much lower cost storage alternative at a time when obviously the economy is not great. And the reality is that no matter what you're doing with your IT budget as a company, the data that you're generating is still coming. So you can cut the IT budget to zero, but the reality is you're still generating data. And so you have to have some place to put that. And so a lot of companies that had sort of put the freeze on their IT spend maybe in late 2007, 2008, 2009, now find themselves in a situation where they absolutely have to do something. And we're coming to the table with a new technology that reduces their costs significantly, and that's resulted in a very rapid adoption of our products.
Where would you say the idea for Scale came from? Was it your idea or a group's idea? Or?
Well, there's a group of us. So there were actually 7 founders of Scale, of which 4 of us or 5 of us date all the way back to those Rose-Hulman days that I mentioned earlier, and have been with us throughout all these different companies. And none of my previous companies were in the storage business. They've all been IT kind of software companies. But Scale's the first storage company, and we really came at the storage problem from the mindset of a storage user. So we had purchased systems from those folks that are now our competitors, and obviously didn't like the expense and the manageability of those systems, and so we set out to kind of solve our own problems, and therefore come up with a product that solved other people's problems as well.
How did you decide Scale Computing was a good business idea?
Well, anytime we set out to start a company, the first thing that we do is we start calling those folks that would be potential customers for that product. So Scale was actually one of or actually storage, I should say. The company wasn't even named at the time, but the concept of scalable storage was one of many concepts that we had thought about. And we always start by literally picking up the phone and trying to call hundreds of potential customers and just ask, what they think of the idea. If it gets a little further along, well, what would the pricing look like? Who do you buy that product from? Who are the competitors that are out there? I mean, knowing that we don't have a product now, it's not like you're trying to sell them something. You're just sort of asking for advice. And scalable storage was one of the ideas that started to kind of take off, and it actually evolved from some earlier ideas where we actually started looking at some virtualization technologies, and when we talked to customers, they said things like, well, that's interesting, but our real problem is data storage. And so enough people say that and you think, oh, well, maybe data storage is what I should be talking to these guys about, and it's really just as simple as that. And so, you know, from there, we go into things like analyzing the market opportunity and the size, and some of this is dependent upon, you know, the team and the entrepreneurs themselves. You know, I mean, you could be a company that grows to 10 or 20 million in annual revenue and have a great business. You know, that's not the kind of company that's probably going to IPO or sort of be a household name. So if you're trying to start a company that's going to IPO or become the next Google, a $10 million market is not going to work, even though it might be a great business. So part of it, there's a combination of sort of analyzing the market and analyzing what it is that you as the entrepreneur want to do with the company. In our case, we were trying to do something that we thought would be big, something that could go public and beyond, hopefully. And so we just sat down with, you know, basically an Excel spreadsheet, started modeling things out. You know, and you start from the bottoms up. It's a matter of, well, how many phone calls a day can I make? How many of those guys are going to return my call? How many might actually try the product if I get to give them a sales pitch? And, you know, you just sort of work it from there. And eventually, you know, come up with what you hope is a pretty solid business plan.